I'm Melissa Pineda, and today I will be discussing the book The 4-Hour Workweek: Escape 9 to 5, Live Anywhere, and Join the New Rich by Timothy Ferriss. So this book was expanded and re-released in 2009, and Mr. Ferriss is a very, very interesting and controversial guy. He says exactly what he thinks. He's not shy about that at all. And he has done like the most random stuff. So if you're not familiar with Ferriss, he has done stuff like entered the Tango World Championships in 2005 in Buenos Aires. Him and his partner completed the most tango spins in 1 minute and made the Guinness World Records in 2006, 37 turns in 1 minute on live TV. In 1999, after he either got fired or quit another boring job, in his words, he won the gold medal at the Chinese Kickboxing National Championships. Okay? So he's a funny guy. He's very intelligent and very funny to read or to listen to, depending on which way you would choose to enjoy the book. But why would you want to read the book? So he's saying that the goal of this book is to free up your time and automate income. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't want to get behind that, but he's got some great ideas. So let me tell you a bit about it, and then you can decide if this is a book for you or that you'd want to spend your time reading. So he talks about stress and eustress. So EUSTRESS, so eustress. EU is the Greek prefix for good, so this means essentially good stress. So stress that challenges you, stress that's helpful, that's a stimulus for growth. There is no progress without eustress. So the American Psychological Association defines eustress as the positive stress response involving optimal levels of stimulation. So it's a type of stress that results from challenging but attainable or enjoyable tasks. Like an athletic event, for instance, or giving a speech. It has a beneficial effect by generating a sense of fulfillment or achievement. And Ferriss suggests that we identify a few critical tasks that contribute most to our income and schedule them with very short and clear deadlines. So what he says is that like the 8-hour workday is arbitrary. If we had 12 hours of a workday, we would manage to fill those 12 hours. If we had 16, we would fill the 16 hours. So, and he says that, for instance, like if we have an appointment and have to leave work in 3 hours, somehow we miraculously get the work done. So essentially, the 8-hour workday is arbitrary, and without set deadlines, the unimportant become important. So he says that we should ask ourselves, am I being productive or just active? And even if you pause and ask yourself that question throughout the day a few times, it'll really change the way that you operate. So am I being productive or just active? Ferriss offers a lot of suggestions in this book on just how to be more productive with your time, how to cut things out of your life that you just don't need, that don't add value to your life. So for instance, he says you should identify like who are your positive friends and who are the time-consuming ones or the negative ones, the ones that bring you down. Who's helping you, who's hurting you, how do you increase or decrease or completely eliminate time spent with those people? He says that we have to start making decisions. So propose something, act, stop the back and forth and make a decision. That we should do this in our personal and professional lives. He offers suggestions. For instance, can I make a suggestion? Or let's try this and then let's try something else if this doesn't work. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? Like that's kind of the back and forth that he's referring to, and I am definitely at fault for this. I do that a lot. I don't know if it's just indecision or wanting to be agreeable, but I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? So he's saying you need to act. You need to propose something. So I made a note. I'm doing that next time I'm getting together with a friend. I'm going to make a suggestion. He says, stop finishing things that are boring or unproductive. Watching a terrible movie, for instance, or reading a terrible book. He says to just stop either reading the book or watching the movie. Just stop wasting your time, essentially. He says, learn to be difficult when it counts. Being assertive is a good thing. So he gave the example of how he would argue with his teaching assistant at university for a good grade. So if he got anything below like a C, then he told himself that he would argue with the teaching assistant for something like at least 2.5 hours or something. And then he said after that, the teaching assistant would think twice about giving him a bad grade, or at least being able to justify it more easily. So that was an example that he gave. He also likes the idea of beg for forgiveness and don't ask for permission. In this book, there are some technologies, some apps, some software that he mentions that may be out of date, but some of it's still very relevant to today. So for instance, he talks about technologies such as dictating ones, transcribing, email notifications, and email blocking, transcribing, mail batching, what else? Email automatic replies. He talks about Indian outsourcers and virtual assistants. Like he's a big fan of virtual assistants and VRs, like virtual receptionists and stuff. Yeah, he talks very highly about them. He explains how to go about getting one, what kind of ad that you'd want to post, what you would say that you're looking for, things of that nature. He also talks about finding your niche. So Ferriss says you should find your market and then create a product. He talks about gives like real life examples of how some people have failed in terms of trying to sell something to a market that they're not familiar with. He says, don't sell something you don't know. Don't write a book for a market you're not part of or that you're not familiar with, for instance. So if you're a student, sell to students. If you're an athlete, sell something that athletes would use. So very common sense stuff. When you're making a product and marketing it, Ferriss says that you should ask the question like, how is it different and why would someone buy it? Why should I buy it? So your answer should be one sentence. And he references Apple when they came out with the iPod. They said, 1,000 songs in your pocket. And it was like a done deal. Like that's all they had to say. Ferriss talks about the how-to in specific detail for all sorts of things. The different steps you need to take for things like getting a patent, for the resale of products, for licensing, creating and manufacturing of products, testing software, sales tracking, which advertising websites to use, things of that nature. He provides all sorts of websites and information on his blog, the 4-Hour Blog. He talks about how to remove yourself from the equation, essentially. Online outsourcing, international call forwarding, online invoicing, file sharing, automatic backup. He talks about even like in detail about everything, what cell phones to buy. He talks about satellite phones for places in the world that you might want to be in and still be able to manage your work from a 4-hour work day kind of situation. And he basically tells you how to work from anywhere in the world, how to go about doing that. So it's the how-to for remote working in any situation, essentially. And he gives very descriptive details and instructions on how to do these things. And he also provides throughout the book examples, but like from real life people that have written in to him and told him like how his book changed their lives. That's the cool thing about this re-released version, because it's expanded in many ways, and this is one of them, where he's now able to include people that have like tested his methods and have written in and told him about how he changed their lives, and then give that example of so-and-so that lived in California and did this and in detail. So it's really neat. Ferriss says, don't think outside the box, act outside the box. Thinking is passive. Ferriss suggests that we purge our personal belongings every 6 to 9 months, completely declutter. He says it makes a world of difference for just the way that you think more clearly, you feel lighter. He's traveled to, I think, probably every country in the world just about, and he's lived in many, many places, and he prides himself on packing very, very light, and he has all this stuff online. He tells you where to find it in his book. Like he says, go to, my blog or go here or there and have a list of like what I packed for Costa Rica, things like that. He also says that income is renewable. He talks about, I don't know if you've heard of the Mexican parable. I've heard of this in passing before, but It was very interesting. So it's the Mexican parable. It's the Mexican fisherman and the investment broker. And you should just check it out online. It'll take you a few minutes to read. But essentially, it's the investment banker that's talking to a Mexican fisherman in a small village. And he asks him, why doesn't he have more boats? And he's fishing. If you had more boats, you could catch more fish, you could sell to more people. And he says, I'm good. Like, I make enough money to have the life that I want. I work for a few hours a day. I go into town. I have a siesta with my wife. I play guitar with my friends. I have some drinks in the evening. Like, I have a good life, very busy life. And the investment banker says, okay, but, if you did this or this or this, then, eventually the idea is he would get to be a multimillionaire. In 25 years, he can sell his business, he can retire. And, okay, what would I do then? Well, you'd, retire in a small village, and you'd have a siesta with your wife. You'd, go and have play guitar with your friends and have some drinks in the evening. It's like he's right back where he started. So the idea is, figure out what you want. Like, figure out what you want in life. What are your goals? What is your goal? What are you working toward? And Tim Ferriss is a big proponent of like making those dreams happen now. Like, you don't have to wait until you retire to do it. And it's a lot easier and cheaper to do certain things now. The book ends with some really amazing stories from people that have written in, that have told Ferriss about how his book changed their lives. So there's some really interesting stories in there, personal experiences, and they just kind of give you ideas, on, okay, I could make that work. There's, multiple examples of people with young children that have traveled the world with their kids or gone to at least one other country to live for 6 months, 1 year, permanent move with young children. They've put their kids in other schools, or they've homeschooled them, or they've given them just like a life experience as opposed to a traditional school experience. And they just this book gives you ideas and means and the tools necessary to make some changes if that interests you. So if anything I've said today you found interesting, you might want to pick yourself up a copy of the 4-Hour Work Week. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. And if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time.